like money, motherfucker? Money be green. Money feel like money. That shit look green to you?
And this one is going to be the main event, if I'm not mistaken. It's Anthony Joshua, who is a minus 360, taking on Otto Wallin, who is a plus 270. Me and Bryan are so excited for this fight that we keep on clicking the caption below.
I didn't realize that's what was happening.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight because Otto Wallin, his one loss is to Tyson Fury, and that's a fight where he gave Fury that big ass gash above the eye. I thought they're going to stop the fight, but Tyson Fury ended up winning that fight. Otto Wallin only has one loss. Anthony Joshua, what Anthony Joshua are we going to get? He's the favorite in this one. Bryan, how are you betting this?
I could argue that the other one should be the main event over this one, but I think this one is because, well, Eddie Hearn is promoting it as the zone. Anthony Joshua is his cash cow. That's going to go down that way. But also, I can more easily see an upset here as opposed to the last fight. I was going to say quickly on the last fight, like Joseph Parker's best chance is trying to outbox and survive Deontay Wilder. I think Otto Wallin has a pathway of actually doing that against Anthony Joshua. I'm not picking him to win this fight. He did, get Tyson Fury with a check left hook and split him open. Tyson Fury needed 47 stitches, was battling a cut throughout the course of that fight. This was 4 years ago. Otto Wallin has not lost a fight since. Got a nice upset win earlier this year. And heading into this fight, I think he has some legitimate momentum. Anthony Joshua has won a couple fights since the losses to Alexander Usyk. He beat Jermaine Franklin by decision earlier this year and knocked out Robert Helenius, who took the fight on less than a week's notice and somehow lasted to round 7, which was interesting, although Anthony Joshua, dominated him in that fight. And I think Anthony Joshua wins this fight, but I'm betting him to do it on points. I actually like Anthony Joshua by decision here, plus 120. Chantel smiling because I think she probably bet the same thing. Anthony Joshua, this is more of a testament to Otto Wallin's toughness, right? Tyson Fury didn't drop him. Otto Wallin actually won 3-4 rounds in that fight, according to the judges, right? Like he put up a real challenge there. Been waiting for something else like this in terms of an opportunity. I think Tyson Fury is better than Anthony Joshua. I think he was better than him then. I think he's better than him now. And Anthony Joshua also, unlike Deontay Wilder, is more tactical, boxing a little bit more conservatively. And I feel like he's going to sort of have maybe a little bit of a difficult time picking apart Otto Wallin systematically in that way because Otto Wallin's a skilled southpaw and could be a little bit tricky. I think Anthony Joshua will win maybe 116, 112-ish decision, something along those lines where Otto Wallin has some moments where we come away being like, yeah, Anthony Joshua definitely won that fight. All right, let's get to Wilder Joshua. But I think it's a tricky challenge for Anthony Joshua, who, listen, he's been caught off guard before. And I don't think Otto Wallin is as good as Usyk or maybe potentially as explosive as Andy Ruiz, but it's definitely his most interesting fight since the Usyk fights. And I want to see how he sort of navigates this again with Derek James at his side.
I think the biggest question for Anthony Joshua is what Anthony Joshua are we going to get? Because we've seen him be a little bit more defensive. We've seen him be a little bit more skilled and try to add that to his arsenal. And I think in the past that hasn't gone well for him because he has switched up trainers. And this is the part where I want to see if it all comes together because when he fought against Jermaine Franklin, that one went to the cards. That was a fight that a lot of people thought, Anthony Joshua is going to get this knockout and it's going to happen like mid-rounds. Doesn't happen, goes to the damn cards, right? And then he has a pretty good performance against Robert Helenius, but that's a performance that I think we all kind of expected him to have. But for this fight against Otto Wallin, who is a very, very good opponent, his one loss is Tyson Fury. Fury didn't even knock him down. Otto Wallin, in return, gave Fury a crazy gash above the eye. I have no idea how they didn't stop that fight because that gash was nasty. I still remember it. Gives me nightmares because I can't look at that stuff. But I think this is a very tough test for a guy like Anthony Joshua. Otto Wallin is not going to be no walk through the park. I think this is a fight that goes to the cards. And I think Otto Wallin gives him some problems. Unless Anthony Joshua goes back to being the heavy-handed Anthony Joshua that was knocking dudes out and puts it together with the skill that he's picked up throughout the last few fights. Will he be able to put it all together? I don't know. That's the question. But the fact of the matter is that I think people want to see Anthony Joshua knock out or get the stoppage against Otto Wallin. And I just don't see it happening. So that's why I'm going to be betting Anthony Joshua to win on points. When I looked it up, I saw it at a plus 124, but it might be going for 120 now. So maybe take a look at other sports books if you can, and see what, the best odds that you can get there. But this is a fight that I think goes to the cards because Otto Wallin is a tough opponent. He's tricky, and he's going to come at you. He's going to land some big shots on you. And Anthony Joshua gets hit. And if I'm Otto Wallin, I'm taking a look at the Usyk fights. I'm seeing what he did. I think this is going to be Anthony Joshua's toughest test. And if he doesn't knock out Otto Wallin, there's going to be talk about, is Anthony Joshua, does he still have it? That's going to be the conversation. And I hate to say it, but I know all the UK fans are like, no, AJ's that guy. AJ's that guy. Trust me, I'm a fan of AJ, but unless he gets this knockout, if Deontay Wilder gives us a crazy knockout, which I think he will give us, and Anthony Joshua takes us to the cards, like, what are we doing here?
And
right?
then Deontay Wilder enters their supposed 2024 bout as the favorite, I think is what happens there.
He would. And
I think he probably will anyway, unless Anthony Joshua has a sensational performance. But here's the thing, like, I'm not sure we want an overly aggressive hunting for a knockout Anthony Joshua in this fight.
No.
I think that could be dangerous against Otto Wallin.
What we want is him to dominate this fight. Right? We want him to be talked about because, as you talked about, the heavyweight division, there's not a lot of depth there. Like, you have the same names. Listen, I think Zhang can beat Anthony Joshua. Don't sleep on him, right?
Zhang is really good.
Zhang's like 40 years old, and I think I would put my money on him over Anthony Joshua. And he should be talked about in the top 5 heavyweights.
I think he can give Deontay Wilder some problems too, and Fury, and probably Usyk.
I think that's a great fight. I think he might be my favorite underrated heavyweight, to be honest with you, because I think he has a chance to beat a lot of people. And this is a fight where I don't think Anthony Joshua necessarily needs a crazy knockout. It'd be nice for him to get it. It would be really nice for him to get it. But I think he has to win distinctively. Like, I think Otto Wallin, if he wins 3-4 rounds, cool, AJ wins. But it has to be entertaining, too. Like, I don't want to see Anthony Joshua just, jab it up. Like, his jab's not that nice anyways. You know what I mean? I don't want to see that. Like, I'm not going to lie. Because
jab it up.
Because, I know, because Otto Wallin is actually really good at cutting off the ring. Like, there was a lot of times you go back to that Tyson Fury fight where he had Tyson Fury in the corner on the ropes.
He applies smart pressure.
And
he does it, and he doesn't take wild chances either.
No, he has a high IQ. So I want to see how Anthony Joshua responds. And if he's just his jab looks weak to me and he's got heavy hands. It's like, I know you got the power, AJ. And I think it's just a mental thing for him. So it's not that I'm trying to get on AJ for this fight. I just think that he has the power. He has all the skills. He has yet to put it together. And as a fan, it's annoying to me. It's like, why aren't you being the old heavy-handed Anthony Joshua and putting it together with the skill that you have? If he did that, AJ would be unstoppable, in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I am interested in the weigh-in because I feel like, remember when he came in heavier against Usyk, he fought a little bit different. Then he lost a little bit of weight and came in a little bit. I want to see what Anthony Joshua we're going to get. I think in that first Usyk fight, he put on way too much muscle. So that's going to be interesting for weigh-ins,
which he did against Andy Ruiz the first time too.
Yeah. So because I think you have to be more mobile. You know what I mean? These heavyweights, they might be big, but they move around. You saw Jermaine Franklin up in there doing his thing. That's why that one went to the cards. I don't think Anthony Joshua thought that Jermaine Franklin would take him to the cards, but nonetheless, here at the Mandatory, we want to know how you're going to be betting this. Are you rolling with Anthony Joshua? Are you rolling with Otto Wallin? Let us know. Drop your comments below. Before we get up and out of here, there could be one other pick that I think we should make, Bryan, because this is a great card. A great card in terms of if you just want to watch boxing before Christmas, because it's a lot of one-sided fights. But listen, there's some big names on here, right? So is there any fight that you're looking forward to on this card other than, of course, Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua?
Speaking of other heavyweights, Frank Sanchez has snuck on to this card.
Yes.
Facing Junior Fa. In terms of guys who need to sort of step up and make a leap into that top 10 or whatever the case may be, that you may have Frank Sanchez in your top 10 heavyweight list already. He
got to fight somebody.
Right. Like his best win is still F.A. Ajagba. And
Yeah.
I think it's the only real time where I was like, okay, like Frank Sanchez must be legit, whatever, whatever. And not to say that he isn't, but since then, I think his best win is Carlos Negron, which was on the Deontay Wilder undercard, where Deontay Wilder fought Robert Helenius last year. Philip Hergovich is on this card. He's fighting Mark Demore, famously fought David Hay when David Hay was coming back several years ago. Philip Hergovich is a minus 5,000 favorite.
It's crazy. You could do a good parlay though. I'm definitely gonna do a parlay for this fight. I'm gonna take Anthony Joshua. I'm gonna take Deontay Wilder. I'm gonna take Dimitri Bivol. I'm gonna take Frank
Bivol,
Sanchez.
listen, Dimitri Bivol snuck onto this card as the third guy against Lyndon Arthur, which everyone's already talking about Dimitri Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev. It's a little weird to me that Bivol beat Canelo Alvarez, and it's like he's just fighting Lyndon Arthur.
Lyndon Arthur is 23-1. He's got 16 by knockout. He was knocked out by Anthony Yarde, but he fought Anthony Yarde first. Remember, and that was a split decision. And then Anthony Yarde had like his revenge fight where he ended up knocking him out. But that's a mismatch. Like when I take a look at that fight.
The most interesting fight to me, maybe on this entire card outside of the Wilder and Joshua, it's easily Daniel Dubois versus Jarrell Miller. Because as a New Yorker, I vividly remember doing multiple stories about Jarrell Miller when I was writing like for local papers and shit when I was coming up, right? And Jarrell Miller looked like he was about to be on the track to some level of stardom. People forget Andy Ruiz was a replacement opponent for that Anthony Joshua fight, replacing Jarrell Miller, who got popped for like 3 different steroids and was suspended for a long time, and he has since come back, still undefeated.
So you going with Miller?
I think Jarrell Miller has a real chance. Now,
okay. What's your bet?
He's 333 pounds. And I think that's by design because, no, I think he's 328 pounds, but he was 333 pounds when he knocked out Lucas Brown. Lucas Brown earlier this year. That's not nobody, right? Not amazing heavyweight, but that's not nobody.
Yeah. And
people think Daniel Dubois quit against Alexander Usyk. I honestly don't know if I'm betting this fight yet because I'm kind of like going both sides. I'm like, Daniel Dubois should win, but man, Jarrell Miller, like I might take Jarrell Miller on the money line.
Ooh.
Because Jarrell Miller's plus 210. It's actually down from where I saw it earlier this week. So I think people might be like starting to place bets on him as the week goes. I could see Jarrell Miller winning this fight, and it wouldn't shock me. I think it'd be very interesting if he did, because all the shit about him hating Anthony Joshua and them actually fighting each other, like that's something that could happen down the line if, you know, the timelines sort of match up. Daniel Dubois needs to win this fight. I think Jarrell Miller is borderline playing with house money, right? Like he needs this too, because if he's going to prove that he's legit at all post steroid stuff, he needs to win this fight. But I think Daniel Dubois, like, you're approaching dangerous territory if you lose this fight, because you have the Usyk loss, and before that you have the Joe Joyce loss. Can't have 3 losses at this point of his career. So I think that's a major like crossroads fight for both guys that everyone should be, you know, paying some attention to.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good fight. Maybe one of the most entertaining fights. But I think I just want to see Dimitri Bivol. I think that I want to see him fight. And I think Lyndon Arthur, a lot of people are already taking Bivol to win that fight, but he kind of poses a little bit of a tricky fight. It is a mismatch. I do think Bivol takes that one to the cards. I would bet the decision, which I believe I saw for like minus 136.
Yo, that's interesting, because the knockout is like minus 105. The decision I saw like minus 120, minus 125. It's like split.
I don't think Lyndon Arthur gets knocked out though. Like I think Bivol is going to be aggressive. I think he's going to, like, the thing about Lyndon Arthur is that like he's got decent power. He fights off his back foot a lot. He's a good counter puncher. He uses the high guard, which Bivol is really good at getting through, but he doesn't have the best head movement, right? So he leaves himself open to Bivol's best punches, which are jabs and crosses. He's also leaves himself open to like overhands. So I think that's the way that Bivol is going to like do work on him, and it's going to be like just a masterclass performance. But I do think Bivol, when he throws his jab, he's heavy on his front foot, right? So it can leave him off balance at times. So because Lyndon Arthur is a good counterpuncher, if Bivol's heavy on the front foot, he can try to slip in some good counters during that time. Because he gets a little bit off balance. So I think that's the one area where if I'm Lyndon Arthur, I'm like, yo, that's when I got to get him. Because he's very flat-footed and heavy on that front foot during when he throws his jab. So that's like the only thing that I can say about Bivol. Other than that, like super skilled, high IQ. That's an interesting fight though, because I think I want to see the stoppage, but I don't think we're gonna get it. What about you, Bryan? How would you be betting that fight?
You know what I'm probably gonna do for both Jarrell Miller's fight with Danny Dubois and Dimitri Bivol fight is I'm probably just gonna like live bet. I'm probably gonna just see how it goes early on, see what's happening. It didn't work for me. It typically does more often than not, but it didn't work for me in the Franchon Cruz-Zern Shadasia Green fight, because Shadasia Green became a heavy underdog after being a heavy favorite after a couple rounds, and I was like, all right, she might figure it out. And then Franchon Cruz-Zern ended up winning that fight, although not a very entertaining fight. So I think with Dimitri Bivol and Jarrell Miller, I want to sort of feel it out, see how it goes. Because if there are a couple things that Dimitri Bivol finds early that are worrisome in Lyndon Arthur's defense, I'm like, okay, maybe he breaks him down and stops him late. See if you can get a stoppage, in that 10-12 round range or something along those lines. Because I could see him just breaking him down and getting a stoppage that way. I don't think it's going to be a one-punch knockout. Dimitri Bivol is not that type of fighter.
Yeah, especially if Lyndon Arthur's head movement hasn't gotten any better, then yes, that's a big possibility. Because I mean, Bivol has power too, but it's not like nasty power. He's going to break you down during the process of the fight, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a possibility, but I think Arthur is a tough opponent, and a lot of people are just like, it's just a mismatch. That's why Bivol is going to win this fight, and that's why he's a favorite going into this one. But here at the Mandatory, we want to know how you're going to be betting. Drop your bets below, drop your slips below. Let us know what fight you're most excited about for the Day of Reckoning, 2 days before Christmas. And we are going to have a live post-fight show. So make sure you join us as well. We'll be here. We'll be taking your comments, and we'll be breaking down all of the fights that we thought were entertaining. We'll probably mention the ones that maybe weren't, but had a good performance. But we're going to be talking a little bit about everything. So make sure you tune into that as well. And hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Bryan, any final thoughts before we get up and out of here?
We also have a preview of Naoya Inoue versus Marlon Tapala is coming to the channel, and that'll be the last fight of the year that we cover before we round out the year, our first year doing the show. So thank you for all the support. Stay tuned for that as well. And we are planning to do a live show for that as well. That's going to be on Boxing Day. That's going to be Tuesday morning for people on the North American side. But watch wherever you are. Please do. And donate.